Crosstalk, the unintentional transfer of signals between communication channels, a casual conversation.
Alright, hello world, this is Video Game Crosstalk, the bi-weekly podcast of gamers talking about tech, science, and whatever else comes to mind. I'm your host, Anthony Rossi, and with me this week, Matt Vallee. Matt, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much, Anthony. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
I'm actually doing pretty good. Just started a new job this week, so that is, like, insanely exciting.
Oh, yeah, learning everything new. That's great.
Yeah, It's kind of rough being between jobs and picking up temp work here and there, but I finally started a new job this week as a technical writer for this new company. Unfortunately, I cannot talk about this job at all on this podcast, but it's a new experience for me. If you guys listened to the previous episode, I mentioned I was a mechanical drafter and did a lot of CAD drafting over the years, and I'm taking a bit of a departure from all that and going to get into a new career, new opportunities, new everything. So it's still all bright and shiny to me. We'll see how long it lasts, but I got good feelings about it.
That's great.
Got good feelings.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so Matt, what type of work are you into?
I am a programmer for a marketing company.
All right, so with marketing, what exactly does a programmer do in that type of situation?
So what my company does is we work with a lot of retailers to kind of help drive their sales by email. So we do a lot of things along the lines of, say you go to a website and you look at something, you look at a couple different products, maybe you put one or two products in your cart, and then you say, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to buy that right now, and you kind of leave your session.
Okay.
So, you get an email the next day saying, hey, thanks for browsing our site. If you want to come back for, 10% off, here's an offer to entice you to come back and actually finish that purchase that you kind of started down the path of.
Ooh, well, that's kind of tasty.
So we work with, we do a lot of those types of emails, lots of other kind of, order confirmation emails, shipping confirmation emails, all those kinds of things.
All right, so you guys are you like supplementary? Because this sounds like something that the actual retailer would do. So do you guys work with like the smaller companies to act as their IT support in this aspect?
Yes and no. I mean, it kind of depends on the company. Some companies, like you said, they do kind of do a lot of their own stuff in-house, or they'll work with, other providers to kind of supplement what they do.
Okay.
There's also a good amount of our clients that really just say, here's our data, you guys figure it all out for us, thank you.
Oh, jeez.
So there's kind of both ends of it. There's kind of a lot of both sides.
All right, so we got a coder with us again. We got another computer guy with us this week.
Yeah.
Hey, that works. I mean, this obviously in gaming, there's going to be a lot of the computer science type guys, so that's cool. From a computer science or a programming standpoint, do you notice things that you think like other gamers probably wouldn't notice from like a coding perspective? Like you sit and play a game and just kind of get mystified as like how they would handle certain situations, or do you think about the interactions either like on a multiplayer level? Do you feel differently than other people?
I'm not sure if I notice things differently, but I feel like I can at least like, I don't know if understand's the right word, but I can kind of get where a developer is coming from when they say that, this is kind of hard for us to do, or this might be kind of easy. Where you see a lot of people like to just obviously on different gaming forums like to just complain. Oh, why isn't this implemented, or why is this way, or this should be like this, or just add this. But I can whole just add this. I have very limited experience in programming. I've done a little bit here and there. I'm working on a 2-year degree in IT right now, just to kind of supplement my educational background. And what little bit I've done in IT and some other programming that I did previous degrees, as far as
like CAD CAM or just other computer networking and programming stuff back in the past, the idea of just slap this bit of code in is like you have no idea how unstable code can become if you just start slapping things in.
Yeah, so I feel like I can, if someone, if something doesn't quite work right, and they say, hey, we're working on it, I kind of get where they're coming from.
So you feel their pain a little bit more than what.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, most of what I deal with is a lot of, like data and text and, nothing as far as, like a 3D visual representation like that you would see in a game, but I can definitely, I can understand the hardships and the difficulties of trying to make, a piece of code work the way you think it should.
All right. Well, one of the things in gaming that, like, mystifies me is the Destiny app, or any of the apps that work with the Destiny game, where I can just swap out inventory and gear and items like that between my characters on the fly, basically. So, for instance, like if I'm going to go into a raid, I'm going to bring my Titan in, but my Warlock has my Touch of Malice. I can open up the app, click a few or tap a few buttons and icons on my phone, and on my TV screen, you'll get the Touch of Malice has been acquired. Like that type of programming. Like, I can't even imagine how many different servers or data tables you need to link, or how you would link all that stuff to be able to do it on the fly, especially in real time without having to, like, reset anything or, like, turn off the, like, with regular software. If you install an update or you reestablish something, it's like you need to turn the program off or hit a refresh button, and it'll reload that data set or something, and then the change will take place. But with this Destiny app, it just, like, amazes me, and other apps like it, where you can just make these changes on the fly. The beauty is in the mystery for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do. It's very cool. You just flick this over here and boop. Hey, there's my new gear. Great, thanks.
Oh, yes. All right. So, anything else going on with you?
Just I don't know, just hanging in there, playing lots of different games. Been big into Overwatch lately. It's been my new love.
All right. You know what? I was going to do some of the science stuff first, but let's swing into the gaming. All right. So, Overwatch. Tell me about that. What have you been working on?
So, Overwatch is Blizzard's new their first new IP in, I don't know, 15 years or so. So, Blizzard, famous for Diablo, StarCraft.
Has it been 15 years since they had an IP?
I think before Overwatch, I think their most recent and brand new, completely new IP was, I think, Diablo. Might have been StarCraft or Diablo. Either one. It was back in, the late 90s. So it's been a while.
Yeah. Wow. And it's not like Blizzard is viewed as, like, a failing company or, like, a floundering company or anything like that.
Far from that.
Far from that. I used to play Diablo and Diablo 2 like a beast.
Diablo was my jam.
Yeah, well, one of my old apartments, a little buddy of mine, set up my own server just to do some multiplayer, just within our own apartment, so we wouldn't have to, like, jump onto Battle.net. We just, like, play with each other with a direct link. And that was back in 04? 04, 05, somewhere around there. And, they've just been working that, and if you listen to the previous podcast episode, I mentioned that John and I played the original Warcraft, and how long has World of Warcraft been going?
I think that just passed 10 years.
God. And it's not even like it's considered a retro game where we're like, oh, we're going to do this throwback game. It's like, no, it's completely new, it's completely fresh, it's completely relevant.
Yeah, they're releasing a new expansion for that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, okay, there you go. We're releasing more expansions. Personally, me, I'm not too big on the MMO side. I prefer, like, the single-player campaigns. That's just the way I've been gaming since I could hold a controller. But, for them to keep issuing these updates and new expansions. So what's this expansion going to be?
I think this one, it's called Legion, and I think it's bringing back Illidan, which is one of the big villains from one of the previous ones. As far as I know, I haven't played World of Warcraft in years, but
okay.
I believe it's kind of bringing him back. I think it's adding, the kind of all the types of things you usually see with a big expansion like that. New level cap, new gear, new locations, all that stuff. But yeah, to think, a 10-year-old game get a big, fully fledged expansion like that so long after it came out is it's unheard of these days.
That's huge. I mean, maybe a patch. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, just we found some errant code, or someone noticed that this was glitching out on occasion. So okay, and I use this term loosely in retrospect or in regards to what we just said. I just got to patch it over real quick. All right, I understand the gravity that comes with that statement, but as far as a game that would be like 10 years old, for instance, like if Volition or Deep Silver issued a patch for Saints Row 3, you know,
Right.
like thanks, I guess. I can't imagine as far as how stable that build must be at this point, or was however many years ago, that the patch would be anything major or anything that demanding, because everything should be theoretically patched and stable to go beforehand. So all right, so Overwatch, why don't you give me the lowdown on what that's all about?
Sure. So Overwatch is kind of, the MOBA, or the kind of arena shooter is pretty big these days, between your, League of Legends, your Dota, you got the recently Gearbox released Battleborn, kind of that team shooter. Everyone's playing a hero with different abilities is kind of the big hot thing right now. Right. So Overwatch is kind of Blizzard's spin on that. Well, that they also have a Heroes of the Storm, which is kind of their actual MOBA, where Overwatch is more of a, I guess, team shooter, if you want to call it. Well, Overwatch is really closer to Team Fortress 2, really.
Okay. Yeah, I heard, I guess, this new genre that's kind of evolving out of that, between the Overwatch and the Battleborn scene, that it's kind of like a hero shooter. Would you agree with that type of title?
That's a great way to put it, yeah, a hero shooter. So,
okay.
So in Overwatch, you've got... there's different classes of kind of different classifications of these different heroes. So there's attack heroes, which are good for they're your high damage dealers.
Okay.
There's your defense heroes, which are good for holding down an area, defending a spot. You've got your tanks, which are big beefy guys that take all the damage, and then you've got support, which do things from healing or putting up shields, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in Overwatch, it's games are 6-on-6, and the nice part for me especially is that every game type there is no team deathmatch game type. So there's no just straight, let me get all these kills, my kill death ratio is the most important thing. That's out the window. Which, you agree with me on that front.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you on that. Again, I was able to play the beta for Overwatch, so I got a little taste, got a little something of it. But I've been mostly playing Destiny until some other future games start coming out. And you get these different challenges, or these different, say the Iron Banner or stuff like that, where your KD is not important, or it's not what helps you win the game. Like the control maps, for instance, where you have to lock down the 3 control points, and every kill thereafter gets you a multiplier for your kill bonuses. But it's controlling the zones. It's not your individual KD that actually matters in this. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're not quite familiar with the shooter jargon or lingo, that the KD is your kill death ratio. So it's how many times you actually kill someone versus how many times that you get killed. And for me personally, if I'm above a 1 at any point, I'm like, woohoo!
Oh, that's thumbs up. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, right? Every once in a while, I was working on my moments of triumph. A couple weeks ago, and it was during Iron Banner. Again, this is in Destiny, so it was Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris at the same time. And to complete my Moments of Triumph, I had to go in and do the Mountaintop quest, which is all Crucible, all the PvP type things. So I'm like, this is great. I'm going to go into PvP. All the people who actually care about PvP are either doing Iron Banner or Trials of Osiris. That means I got the rest of the schleps that are down there with me. I was able to bang it out in a couple of days. It was fantastic.
Great.
I'm getting these KDs of 2.5 at the end of a match. I'm like, should I take a screen capture of this, or no, it's totally not representative of my actual skill level. So I'll just be happy with it and move on to the next part of the quest line. All right, so you've been playing a lot of Overwatch recently.
Yes.
So how much has it expanded since the beta?
So the beta was, I think that was early May. The game came out late May. So since then they've added They've added a competitive mode, so there's a full 1 to 100. You play a couple games. I think you play 10 games. It drops you into your 1 to 100 kind of bucket, and then every win and loss will increase or decrease your ranking. They've added one new hero since the release, Anna, which is as far as a kind of a character or a hero goes in gaming, it's pretty unique. She is a sniper, but a support character, so she can heal her allies from afar via bullets.
Yeah, because when I was playing the beta, I know me and like 800 million other people. I was playing Black Widow quite often. She was pretty easy to use, and I like the idea of the multi-use gun where you could do the mid-range and the long-range. But like my personal style has been mostly support. So like in the Borderlands series, I would always be Axton, or like Axton would be my main. Axton or Roland in Borderlands, the first one. And like I don't want to be up front and center, but this is going to be surprising saying that I played Black Widow. I'm not that great with sniper rifles, so like my comfort zone is like mid-range off to the side. So like I'll kind of pick off the small guys, in the middle of the arena type thing, and let the tanks roll through. I'm not too concerned about my own stats. It's like, for me personally, achieving the end goal is like the ultimate goal for me. I'm not too worried about the fame and the glory, so I have no problem just kind of sitting back a little bit and picking up the small guys so that the big tanks can roll through. So what have you been playing mostly in Overwatch? What's your preferred character style?
In Overwatch, I play a lot of tank and support, actually. So I'm kind of like you.
Between the two.
Yeah. So I like being support. I've always liked being kind of the healer in games, so I'll play a lot of that. But I also like being the big. I'll get up front. I'll take the damage, and I'll be the decoy and let everyone else kind of do the dirty work. Yeah,
just as long as everyone else does do the dirty work, type of thing. Like I can't just go in and soak up all the damage. You guys gotta help the tank.
Yeah, if I'm up there taking the brunt of it, I need to be helped out. I can't do everything.
I know I'm taking all the damage, but I can't take all the damage. Awesome. So you've been enjoying it?
Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah. You and a whole bunch of other people.
Yep, me and the rest of the world.
Successful so far.
Sorry, what was that?
I said it's been very successful so far.
Oh yeah.
All right, so moving on. You mentioned, as we were talking before the show, that you actually watched the Street Fighter V final?
I did, yeah. So
now tell me about this.
So for me personally, I like fighting games. I enjoy playing them. I suck at them. but I like them.
But you enjoy them.
I do. So I can kind of I feel like I can appreciate the challenges of trying to get all these moves down, pitch perfect, frame by frame, exactly how far can my guy reach, how much damage is it going to do, which way do we need to block, all that kind of stuff. So I'll do a little quick story, a little detour. So my buddy
go for it.
My friend Ryan was actually out in Vegas for the tournament with one of the players. His name is Long Island Joe, or L.I. Joe.
All right.
So he's out there with his friend Joe, kind of rooting him on, supporting him. And Long Island Joe ends up getting into the top 8, kind of the quarterfinals for this tournament.
Oh, nice.
So, it was a Sunday night on ESPN2. They actually had a broadcast of the tournament from Vegas on ESPN2, which is crazy to me to think, video games on ESPN, what is the world coming to?
Yeah, right.
So aside from the
awesomeness, that's what it's coming to.
That's right. So of course there was the Twitch streams that most people are used to watching for big competitive games, but it was also cast on ESPN2, which I think that was a great decision on their part, because my friend Ryan says, hey, I'm here watching this. So, if you guys want to watch, you guys as in a group of our friends here, do you guys want to watch? Here's a link. So we end up watching on ESPN2, and throughout the 3 or so hours, there was probably 10 or 15 of us just, glued to this television, watching, rooting on Long Island Joe, trying to figure out, how's this game work. Just, we became instant lovers of him, instant haters of everyone else. I
don't even know the story behind it. I've never watched any of these other guys, but screw them.
That's right.
All right, so that was shown on ESPN2.
Yes.
So that's wild. As I'm listening to this, I just jotted a note down. Most people if you're going to be watching some type of video game televised content, and I'm throwing up the air quotes when I say televised, because in previous, it's not necessarily over a television, but it was streamed online through Twitch or some other video streaming service. One thing that bothers me about Twitch, if I'm going to watch a big event, for instance, one of the Destiny reveal streams, something like that, one of the glorious things about Twitch is the viewer's ability to interact with whoever is broadcasting or whoever is moderating the chat. But when you get these massive broadcasts, like the chat is rendered useless, in my opinion.
Oh, it's just streaming by at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It's streaming by 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's just glitching all over the place. Like, it's not even a continuous flow. It's just whenever the system refreshes to add these new user comments, it's just like chunk, 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 chunk. And 98% of it is just gibberish garbage. It is just absolute, like, some guys, they're just like spraying the screen with a bunch of whatever emojis, or someone's just like typing hype a whole bunch of times, or some other profanity nonsense, or just anything other than like actual conversation or commentary of what's being shown on the screen. So you'll get that 2% where someone might either make a clever joke or make a kind of insightful comment or ask the broadcaster some type of question. But when you have like 100,000, 200,000, however many viewers on there simultaneously, it just, to me, it just doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't.
So I guess what I'm kind of asking is your opinion on, has Twitch become too big to handle some of these events?
It's a good question. Personally, I don't watch a lot of Twitch, although I do. I have for kind of like what you said, I do watch a lot of the Destiny reveal streams on there. But like you said, you watch some of these big events, and the chat is just a river of comments, and it's maybe for trying to get the user interaction piece for those large events, it might not be the best forum. But as far as delivering the content, I feel like it's without a doubt the biggest, the big dog as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I'm not even going to bother trying to argue that. I mean, if you want to watch some type of gaming stream or gaming content, I mean, people have their entire shows set up on Twitch. Like, they have their own channel for video game talk shows, whereas like they're not even playing games. It's just got the webcam set up, but they have the chat open. And actually, one of the podcasts I listen to called The Sundering does this. They have their show live every Sunday night. Them and I'm going to keep talking about Destiny. And Guardian Radio do their shows live on a Twitch stream so that they can interact with the audience. But their audiences are really cool, and they don't get overrun with nonsense. So at that capacity level, it absolutely makes sense, and it's like an awesome kind of experience, especially if they're talking about something and you're watching them, and you throw up a question or comment or observation, something like that, and they read your name on air. Who doesn't get giddy if you're a fan of a podcast or a show? They noticed me. Yeah, they read my question. Oh God, it was hilarious. One of the guys, I've gamed with them a few times over at Mulehorn Gaming, and they have their, send in your listener questions and whatnot. And it was just after E3, or soon after E3, and I'm all sorts of amped up for the next Watch Dogs game. Not only that, but I heard that they were going to make a Watch Dogs movie to succeed the Assassin's Creed movie. So me, personally, and I understand that I'm kind of in the minority at this hype level, but I'm just like all sorts of crazy and happy, so I asked their opinion on it. And during their next podcast, it was hilarious at the time because they were going to reference the Watch Dogs movie in a very negative light. But they're like, oh, but we have a question about that later in the show, so we'll get to it later. So I felt elation and defeat at the same time. Like, ooh, they're going to read my question. And they hate it. So yeah, bringing that kind of stuff onto Twitch, it seems, I think I'm going to take the stance that it's still a viable resource as far as showing these large-scale streams and stuff like that. But just go into that stream knowing that it doesn't matter what you put in the chat. It will not be read. There will be no actual interaction between the broadcaster or the broadcast team and whoever is sending in the chat information, because, I mean, maybe the mods, just to keep a lockdown on any profanity or actual spam or excessive links or something like that, just to keep that under wraps. But as far as actual interaction between the chat and the broadcaster, I don't see it happening once it hits whatever that certain level would be. What do you think?
That magic level there, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that magic level might be. Oh, man. It's too bad. It's pretty awesome. All right, so in other chat that we've had, you've actually played Mighty Number 9.
I have, yes.
So, thoughts?
So, for those who don't know, Mighty Number 9 was a Kickstarter game back in 2013. It raised almost $4 million. It was billed as a spiritual successor to Mega Man, a very popular video game franchise, obviously. The creator of Mega Man kind of left Capcom to make this game. So everyone's super hyped about it, like, oh man, it's the original, it's the original creator, it's going to be his idea, his vision, it's going to be fantastic. So 3 years go by, $4 million go into it, and there are all manner of, delays and issues, and, the release date it was going to be last year, then it was going to be sometime in December, and then it was February, it eventually came out in June.
Okay, so fairly recently, only a couple months ago.
So, I grabbed my copy. I do play, and lasted about five or so hours to play through the whole thing. It had the Mega Man vibe where you've got your small blue robot with his gun on the gun arm, dashing.
Yeah, totally not Mega Man. Totally not Mega Man at all.
Not at all. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
So you're fighting all these robots, trying to essentially save the world. Defeat a robot boss, gain its power to use in other levels. Things, very Mega Man-esque things for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But it did not quite live up to that hype. It didn't quite deliver on some of the visuals that were shown. Even as far as years back, there was actually a pretty, I don't know about big, but a bit of a controversy with the trailer that came out just before the game dropped. Put out by the company Concept, by the developers. One of the lines in the trailer was something to the effect of "make you cry like a high school nerd on prom night." To which a lot of the
I did hear about this. I did actually hear about this.
So a lot of the fans and people waiting for this game are saying, what the heck? What are you doing? What is the goal with that? This line. What are you trying to say? I mean, all things considered, it was a decent game. It was all right. I ended up paying $20 for my copy, pledging it years back. So as far as a cost versus how much did I like it, that was fine.
All right. So how did it actually differ from Mega Man?
So there were a couple significant differences. So for one thing, you could not charge up your gun. So in a Mega Man game, typically you kind of shoot your little pea shooter gun or little pea shooter bullets, I guess, or you could hold it down, charge it up, shoot a big blast.
Yeah, that came out in the Mega Man X games.
Yes. So
wow, I just said Mega Man X games. I would pay money to see that. I would totally pay money to see Mega Man doing tricks with his dog companion off a half pipe. All right. Wow. Okay. Puns. Hooray. All right. Go on. So you can't charge your gun.
That's not an ability. Right. The biggest departure was that in Mighty Number 9, when you shoot an enemy down, when you kind of damage it enough, it begins to kind of blink or glow, and you need to kind of dash into the enemy to absorb them, to kind of gain their power, gain some, maybe gain back a little bit of health, maybe gain, just points on your score, whatever. So this kind of, pushing the tempo, going fast, damaging enemies as fast as you can and dashing through them to keep moving very quickly is not what a lot of Mega Man fans are used to with, very careful platforming, very expertly timed, movements and jumps. kind of very kind of clashing styles there.
Okay. Huh. So this seemed to be more just kind of like barreling through almost?
It's weird, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the gameplay mechanics kind of reward you for going as fast as you can, which is not what I think most of the eagerly awaiting fans
really think. Yeah, I mean, I've actually seen a speed run of one of the Mega Man X games. Said it again. So I've seen a speed run of those, and it's not so much barreling through everything, but it was actually avoidance of all enemies and obstacles. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like I'm constantly charging or just blasting guys from a distance and memorizing their movements to hit them in the weak spot as I go through. It was actually, I'm going to memorize each level so I avoid all of the enemies and blaze through it that way. This sounds more like like you said, the complete opposite, where you damage the enemies down and I guess you dash into them to regain some of your power, or gain some of their power and regain some of yours? Yes. Yep. Okay. It actually sounds kind of interesting. But what is this normally? Oh, I got the internet in front of me right now. What is it retailing at right now?
I want to say about $20.
Go to Google shopping. Yeah, $20 across the board. Oh, and of course, a signature limited edition collector sealed is going for $74 on eBay at the time of this recording. Of course it is. Of course. All right, so hey, you know what? For $20, it's not too bad.
Right. That's kind of where I ended up with it. So hey, $20 game. Sat down to play it over the course of a few days. It was fine.
Mm-hmm. All right. He's got good replay value?
No. No, there's really not.
No. Not so much.
There's, your kind of standard fare in today's gaming world. There's, some challenge modes, some speed run type things, but as far as replaying the campaign itself, no.
No, not so much. That's too bad. Because I used to play the Mega Man games and just kind of like, you go through it once and then we're going to go through it again and go through it again, try to get the bosses in a different order, see if, this... I'm not going to date myself. See if the saws work better against the Leaf guy. Going all the way back to the original Nintendo days on that one. But that was that's where a lot of the replay value came in. All right, so we're going to move on to some of the tech news. This one was just published today, actually. I got this article from Scientific American. Looks like it was originally published on space.com. The government approves robot mission for Moon Express, which wants to mine our satellite. So check this out and let me know what you think. And I'm quoting this directly from the article. The U.S. government has officially approved the planned 2017 robotic lunar landing of California-based Moon Express, which aims to fly commercial missions to the Earth's nearest neighbor and help exploit its resources, company representatives announced today, August 3rd. Dude, we're going to start having approved lunar missions from private companies. That's pretty wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like we've been doing some serious space, pushes. I won't really say exploration because we really haven't gone all that far, except for Mars and the other long distance satellites that just what was it, Juno, that just went past Jupiter. Yeah, so I mean that's definitely, I think that's as far as we've gone offhand, but there's been a lot of pushes between the private, space flights type things. That crazy fool that did the stratosphere jump. And what was that, like a few days ago? The guy did a free fall into a net from an airplane.
Geez, I didn't hear about that, but
Did you see it? Did you hear about that? Okay, hold on. We need to. Oh boy, free fall jump. That's got a Felix Baumgartner. No, not Felix Baumgartner. Oh, jeez.
Felix Baumgartner. That was the Red Bull guy you talked about, right? A couple years back.
Yeah, that was the Red Bull guy. Into the net. The dude fell into a net. How he skydiver jumped without a parachute on purpose and lived. Let's see here. That's what I'm talking about.
No, thank you.
Yeah, right? Yeah, skydiver Luke Akins became the first person to jump from a plane without a parachute or wing chute this past weekend, carrying out a daring stunt on live television. Yes, on live television. It was posted on August 1st. Akins jumped from a height of 25,000 feet, or 7,600 meters, and after a 2-minute free fall, flipped onto his back to land on a 100-foot by 100-foot net, according to news reports. Wow. All right, so we've been pushing human life farther and farther out into, the stratosphere and into space. We've got multiple private companies trying to create commercial flights into space, and now today it's been approved by from the Scientific American article, Moon Express submitted an application to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, on April 8th. The document then made its way through the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Department of Defense, NASA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the Federal Communications Commission. So they applied in April. It is now August. That took, 4 months? Yes, I'm counting on my fingers just to make sure I don't sound like a complete idiot on those podcasts. But yes, 4 months. That's actually really quick to go through the FAA, the State Department, the Defense Department, NASA, NOAA, and the FCC. So we got like 6 federal commissions or federal agencies that this proposal just went through. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is commercial flights to the moon. It's just odd to say.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to start having next year. Yeah, next year. Good Lord. Commercial and private flights to the moon. So this is no longer like the moon race, who can be the first up there. It's no longer, yes, it's pushing the limits of our known technology, but now it's getting to the point where we're not so much pushing the limits of our technology. We're working on making the technology more affordable and more financially feasible. Like, that's a huge difference.
That's bringing it from, fantasy land to reality.
Yeah, because there's all sorts of experiments and missions that scientists or researchers, they'll put themselves through. Like, I remember an article maybe back in 2008 where they developed a car that could get 300 miles to the gallon. But the 300 miles to the gallon had a little asterisk next to it because it was theoretical. And by that I mean the car that they developed couldn't even hold a full gallon of gasoline in its tiny tank. It was basically, I know it's kind of funny, but what some of these missions do is they try to push the limits, the absolute material, physical limits of what technology exists today and what they can do, just to see how far they can possibly go. So they were able to create a one-person car, essentially, that could get this insane fuel efficiency. Is it feasible for mass production? No. Is it ready for any type of commercial sale? No, absolutely not. It was a one-off deal. But they'll do these research projects in efforts to just see what we can do. Like, how far can we do it? All right, we got here. Take a step back. How can we adjust this to make it a little more realistic? So, as far as the moon missions are concerned, we've actually passed that point. Like, we can go there. We did it. We did it with very old technology in comparison to today's tech. With today's tech, we are now doing routine missions, and I believe this Moon Express will not be manned. So it's going to be a rover that we're going to, quote-unquote, toss on up there to, I guess, mine or, take advantage of whatever resources that they can grab off. So we're basically going to be harvesting moon rocks. What they're going to use it for, I don't know.
Who knows?
At this point. But, if you... How are they going to get it back? Now that I'm reading a little bit more of the article, and I'm thinking to myself, like the Mars rover, that's a one-way ticket. And any of the astronauts or the people who want to, we'll start colonizing Mars, that's a one-way ticket. So my question is, how are you guys going to get this thing back?
Is it going to be as simple as, fill up a bag, put it back on, and, everyone aboard ship and let's go? Or is it going to be maybe they send up little, drones or drop ships that they kind of fill up, point back at Earth, and on its way just that little capsule goes? I don't know.
That would be kind of cool, though. send up a rover with each one that you launch up there, just to get like a team of rovers up there, and then have the return trip. Rather than the payload being the rover, the return payload is whatever rocks that they harvest. And then once you get a handful of those little buggers working as a team, you can start sending the rocket or whatever, the capsule with an empty payload over to the moon and then send it back. So that'd be kind of cool. Well, there we go. Solve that problem. Perfect. Yeah, right? Yeah, we got this all taken care of, guys. We got it all taken care of. We all set. All right. Oh, man. Speaking of drones, so the drone technology is constantly evolving. Some of it's actually open source. If you knew about this, there's actually some open source communities as far as drone designs are concerned, as far as like the software and like the schematics to build these things. I got an article from The Verge with the title, "Drones Will Begin Delivering Blood and Medicine in the U.S." After launching in Rwanda, Zipline brings its fleet of medical drones to 3 U.S. states. So this is pretty awesome, too. Everyone pretty much knows drones, or quadcopters, or, no, actually the picture of this is one of those little mini gliders, it looks like. Alright, so not the quadcopters, the mini gliders. For, like, taking pictures and stuff like that. But it looks like Zipline, this company from California, they're actually going to start using these drones to actually send out medical supplies and whatnot to remote areas.
I think that makes all the sense in the world. I think that's excellent.
Yeah. They got their start, like I said, in Rwanda. So all sorts of remote locations. There are some parts in the U.S., like you and I, we both live in the capital region of New York. There's really not, there's a rural area. There's plenty of farms in the central and western New York, and there's plenty of rural country up in the north country. But, you go into the Midwest, and there's just nothing for miles and miles, like in every direction. And that, and then some of the state parks, additionally. Like, again, for us in upstate New York, we've got the Adirondacks, which is just massive. But there's no quick way to get to anything. And if there's a natural disaster or something, if you have that one mountain road, which gets washed out, or tree falls, then who knows how big some of these trees can be when you get into the more remote areas or to the more wooded areas. You're just not getting to these people if they need help. So finding a way to work these drones and get them suited up properly. I'm watching this little GIF that they have on there. Actually drop these medical supplies. Actually, as I'm watching this, something else that just came to mind. They're flying at a fairly lower altitude than your normal supply plane per se. So, like the parachute that they have on this box, it's not all that big, but it's not dropping from 10,000, 20,000 feet. So I guess they don't exactly need a massive parachute. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, they got can fly for up to 75 miles on a single charge. So maybe 25, 30 something miles, so you don't run out of charge on the return trip. Yeah, 30 miles out, 30 miles back. You can drop some stuff to some pretty remote
you mentioned
locations.
The Adirondacks. Say you're out hiking or something, for whatever reason you get stuck either out in a trail or up maybe on top of a mountain or something. You can, instead of having to get somebody to climb up this mountain to deliver these supplies, you can just kind of fly over the top, drop it right down. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you heard anything of Amazon? Because I heard for a while back, that they were going to start doing delivery drones for Amazon orders. Have you heard anything since the initial announcement or concept of that?
It is pretty cool, though. I mean, I'm curious how it's all gonna. What kind of some of the protections are going to be with it, though? I mean, say someone drops something in my at my front door or at my backyard or something. What's the as I'm thinking about this, I'm kind of flip-flopping, say, what's to stop somebody from, just taking the package if it's left outside your front door? Well, what's to stop that from happening today? So I guess it's really no different. But,
well, yeah, so
right.
We get plenty of stuff from, online retailers, and they just, the delivery guys just kind of walk up to the door, drop the package off. Sometimes they'll ring the doorbell, sometimes they just kind of, okay, we're good, and they take off after that. But, there's got to be a lot of logistical and assurances that they need to iron out if any company was going to consider autonomous delivery. But yeah, it's pretty awesome that they've worked out a system for medical delivery for these, because I mean, anytime we can get aid out to anyone, get aid out to where it absolutely needs to be as efficiently as possible, it's always a win in my book. I'm reading from, and I'll add these articles I'm referencing into the show notes. Companies like Matternet and Flirty have developed similar drone delivery systems. Last year, Flirty completed the first FAA-approved drone delivery after flying drugs to a medical center in rural Virginia. Hey, there you go. So they're expanding on an established method. Awesome. All right, so I got one last science and tech article I want to talk about. We got the Olympics starting up, and by the time this podcast comes out, the Olympics will be well underway. We're recording this on August 3rd. And this is an article about some people training for what they're going to call the Cyber Olympics. And it's dealing with prosthetics. So prosthetics have come a long way in the past, 5-10 years or so. There's been a lot of research, and I keep up on it every once in a while just because I think it's awesome and amazing. What doctors and researchers have been able to do is they've been tracking, and I'm going to greatly oversimplify this so it fits within my tiny little brain. They've been mapping out the neural pathways in human limbs, so through their arms and through their legs, and they've been tracking these neural pathways and connecting with whatever sensors or patches, basically nodes, to these neural pathways over the skin, and connecting those nodes into prosthetics so that when you think of the motion of opening and closing your hand, your brain automatically sends those electrical pulses out through your arm. So with those mapped pathways, they've translated that into a mechanical rotor or mechanical joint, so that these prosthetic hands and whatnot, they can actually open and close just like a regular hand, because they're actually accessing these neural pathways that the brain is activating. So what this article is talking about is the struggles of trying to get into some type of performance prosthetics. And see here. It's one sentence. A race for prosthetic arm users will be won by the first cyborg. A race for prosthetic arm users will be won by the first cyborg to complete tasks including preparing a meal and hanging clothes on a line. I mean, it seems pretty basic at that point, but the fact that you can actually do that with a prosthetic, to have that level of fine motor skills through a prosthetic, is absolutely amazing. Yeah, it really is. We are getting into magic at this point. So, what are your thoughts as far as, the Olympics are coming, and we have this technology that will allow for people with prosthetics. It's not just the Special Olympics at this point. It's not just this curved piece of metal that. And again, I'm grossly oversimplifying this. My intent is not to be disrespectful. It's to show the difference between the current day prosthetics that are static and almost a singular piece, almost, in comparison to something that will actually respond to neural pathway impulses. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to have to create a new form of competitive sport for people who either opt to, or for people who, unfortunately have a need for these prosthetics? What are your thoughts as far as this level of, technical design in competitive
fall
sport?
Into, like you said, grossly oversimplifying, does it fall into a performance enhancing type thing where it's, you're getting a distinct advantage over a quote unquote regular athlete? I guess it's up for the various leagues and associations to decide, but I think that's that's the big question, right?
Right. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. I don't know if you follow Deus Ex on either Twitter or Facebook or anything like that, but they actually post a lot of this stuff. A lot as far as, well, they call it human augmentation, but developments in prosthetics and stuff like that. It's actually one of the best sources if you're interested in this type of research. Seriously, following Deus Ex, the video game series, on either Facebook or Twitter, is like one of your best possible feeds for what's going on in that world. And I remember in Deus Ex Human Revolution, the previous game, there was one of the missions where you hack into someone's email. I know you hack into everyone's email, but one of the emails that you hack into, it talks about the smuggling of these prosthetic limbs and how they're being made to order, basically. And the comment was, what the hell did you guys do? Mug an Olympic athlete? Because they were talking about the quality and the level of design of one of the prosthetic legs that they were able to get a hold of. And so, I mean, I can see that. I can legitimately see that happening between any of the other race worlds. Obviously not stock car, but anything where you have some type of competition of that involves machinery, like how much horsepower can you get out of this car or motorcycle, stuff like that. Well, it's going to be how much horsepower actually, or responsiveness or fine tuning can you get out of these different prosthetic limbs, and what sports will they be most impactful to? So it's going to be wild stuff. Any additional thoughts on that?
I'll be honest, I hadn't really thought about it until you brought it up, and now I am very interested in the thought of it.
All right. Yeah, man. Take a look over at Deus Ex, their Twitter and Facebook feeds. And like I said, I'll add this. It's another Scientific American article. I'll post that into the show notes so you can take a look. I mean, there's all sorts of like things that basically were previously reserved strictly for science fiction. But if you stay up on some of this news, these things have been going on for years. Like a few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years back, I remember reading an article where it was the first girl who actually fed herself a Snickers bar using a prosthetic arm, like an entire arm. And she was able to like reach down, grasp the candy bar, and actually bring it up to her mouth, using an entire prosthetic arm. So like we're halfway there. Like at this point, it's no longer is it possible. We are now refining the technology and getting all the sensors and the motors calibrated properly to the human body. Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. All right, Matt. Come to that part of the show, and we're going to do the final 5. These are 5 questions to wrap up this podcast that range from irrelevant to irreverent. Are you ready?
I am ready. Excellent,
because you didn't have a choice. All right, first question. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. You drink it black? Light and sweet like yourself?
Thanks. I usually just go with sugar.
Just sugar? All right. Question number 2. What level are you in Pokemon Go?
I just reached level 20 today, as a matter of fact.
Jeez, I love it. I just, between the new job and homework and a bunch of other stuff, I just haven't had time to play. Like, I really need to make the effort to do it. I'm still stuck at, like, level 8 or 9. It's sad. I don't even know what level I am. I'm such a terrible gamer. Oh, God. All right. So, question number 3. Do you do any tabletop gaming?
I do, actually. The last few years I've gotten pretty big into tabletop gaming. I'll play, used to play with some of my friends. I'll play some 2-player games with my wife. I'll play some, games with people at work. It's really a great hobby.
What 2-player games do you play with your wife? And I may or may not be taking notes right now.
Let's see, our favorite ones to play would be Jaipur, which is kind of a resource management / risk-reward game. And Dominion, which is a very well-known kind of a classic game. But those are the two ones
Dominion.
That we play a lot.
Yeah, Dominion's a lot of fun. Can be a lot of fun. And there's a bunch of expansions for that, too.
Oh, geez, like 10 of them or something. So I only have the base game, but we do enjoy it.
All right. Yeah, and you have been doing quite a bit of... we'll get to that in the outro. I'll plug your blog a little bit. All right, so question number 3. What is your favorite 5K fun run?
My favorite 5K fun run? Let's see. I guess I'll do the only one I've ever done, which would be the Troy Turkey Trot.
What? No, you've done... Dude, we ran the Warrior Dash together.
Oh, right.
Come on, Matt.
I rescind my previous
look
answer.
like a
The Warrior
fool.
Dash all day long.
For obstacle course. I'll include obstacle courses in those. How about that?
All right.
Have you done any other besides the Warrior Dash?
Let's see. I don't think so. Although I do want to do that again. I think I'm going to try to do that again this coming year.
All right. Good man. Geeks and sneaks, baby. Geeks and sneaks. All right. Final question, number 5. Will the Tennessee Titans be any good this year?
No. Nope. They are destined to suck as long as I live.
Yeah, I was just looking up some NFL standings before we got on here. Tennessee Titans, AFC, 3-13.
Yep. There's actually on Deadspin, which is one of the Gawker sites. Deadspin is kind of their sports arm.
Okay.
One of the writers on there he started his series for this year called Why Your Team Sucks, and every day he does a new team going in a draft order. So the very first one, since the Tennessee Titans picked first in the draft this year, was the Tennessee Titans, and it is just, why your quarterback sucks, who is your coach and why, what else about your team is awful. It's I don't know why I like them. It's all terrible to have to read, but.
Well, and full disclosure, my team is the 49ers. I'm kind of a casual fan, but the 49ers, they did not do much better last year. They were 5-11, so battle for the basement right there.
Yep.
Between us. 3-13 and 5. So, yeah, I might have you by 2 games, but it's still not exactly anything to celebrate at this point.
Yeah, nothing to write home about there.
No, not quite. All right, and that is all the time we have for this episode. Time for end of show plugs. You can follow me, Anthony Rossi, on my personal Twitter at Hypersyntax, HYP3RSINT4X, or you can follow the podcast directly at VGXT Pod, or on Facebook at facebook.com/videogamecrosstalk. The podcast is hosted directly on Podbean and can be found at videogamecrosstalk.podbean.com. As for my guest, Matt, what you got?
So I have a little blog I've been running. It is at pixelvallee.com, PIXELVALLEE. I like to do reviews and, as you almost mentioned, some tabletop games.
Yeah, you've done quite a few of those tabletop roundups, as you've been calling them.
Yeah, just try to get things to the table as much as I can.
All right. And so you call it the Pixel Valley. So to get to the Pixel Valley, do we have to first cross over Candy Mountain?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh, never mind. I'm cutting this out of the episode. Oh, that joke fell flat. All right, so you want to give your plug for your blog one more time?
Yep, it is pixelvallee, VALLEE.com.
All right. Are you on Twitter, or are you just strictly over at the blog?
Just over at the blog. I'm thinking about maybe doing some Twitch stuff fairly soon, but for now we're just in written form.
All right, awesome. All right. And finally, if you are a gamer or know a gamer that wants to talk some tech and science news, let me know. Do you have some tech news that you'd like to hear discussed? Do you have any other general questions you'd like to answer on the show? Send an email to videogamecrosstalk@gmail.com and give me the deets on what's going down. Please don't forget to like, review, subscribe, and share this podcast all over your social media accounts, and we can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And yes, as of this recording, I am official on all 3 of those websites. So thank you one last time for hanging out with us. Matt, thank you one more time.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, and until next time, let your geek flag fly.